What is up, everybody? Shrek the Yoga here. And today, I should say tonight, that we're gonna be reacting to a scary video. And of course, it is a Mr. Nightmare video. This is gonna be pretty frightening. Psst, tell me about it. Yeah, exactly. Legitly, the only things I fear is Mario actually finishing me off for good, and I never get Peach, and if something bad happens to my kids. Those are the only three things I fear. Other than that, these stories have no effect on me. This should be an interesting video. Yeah, and we're gonna be reacting to ones that Kong Spideyzilla hasn't watched himself. But he's actually gonna be secretly watching along with us since he is the cameraman. Yeah. Yeah, you got that right, Bats. Alright, so we don't want this intro to drag on way too long, so without further ado, let's begin. About time we're done with the ridiculously long intros. Hey, Turtle, we don't usually take that long, you know. Listen here, Ogre, you actually do take this. Alright, I'm Batman, and I'm gonna start this video. Like I said, no interruptions, and no long intros. Let's get right into this creepiness. But however, I do not fear it, because I'm darkness itself, because I'm Batman. Alright, we get it, whatever. Let's start the video. Fine. Shout out to Mr. Nightmare. And warning, the following video may contain some stuff not suitable for children. Alright, lights, camera, and action. So the first one we're going to be watching here is texting and phone horror stories. Well, with disturbing backstories. Alright, let's see what this is about.
Hey, is this Gavin? Yes, who's this? It's Alex. Where you at? Send your location. I'm at home. What happened to you? What number is this? I'm using my friend's phone. We're stranded at the bar. Can you call us an Uber to your house? What? Why don't you just do it? Dude, my app isn't working. Just figure it out. I don't even know what that means. Just send your address. Gavin was out with his friends Alex and Omar, and they were last with each other at a bar in Dallas called Parliament. The trio was getting ready to wrap up the night, but Alex stayed behind when he saw other friends at the bar. So Gavin and Omar
That's
went
not
home.
normally a good
About an hour
sign.
passed with no
Yeah,
contact
it
between the
isn't.
three. That was when
I had
Gavin
some
received a
personal
text from a
experiences
random number.
myself.
And as you see, they claim to be Alex using his friend's phone.
We, I got caught
Alex
up in
had lost his
scenarios
phone,
myself
and he
because
was
it's,
using his
let's
friend's
just say
phone,
it's
who
an
Gavin apparently had
anti-hero
never met before.
business.
He was asking Gavin to call him an Uber, since according to him,
Huh,
it wasn't
I
working on
most
his phone.
likely had it worse.
Gavin refuses, basically noting
Duh,
how
cause you're a
silly that
villain.
sounds, and tells him to
Yeah,
call his
whatever,
own.
Bear.
The
You are
conversation
right, though.
picks up here,
So I'll let you get away with
where
that
Alex
one.
agrees to apparently call his own Uber and asks for Gavin's address. Gavin stated that this was around the time he was becoming slightly suspicious, but he still gave his address, however not without making a comment about how he should memorize his address by now. He says he cut him
This
some
is all
slack due to
sounding
the
pretty
fact that he was
sus.
drinking. Gavin asked him why he was using his
Agreed.
friend's cell phone, to which he got a response that Alex lost his phone. He then lets them know that they're on their way.
Alright,
When
that
Gavin
is
asks
really
Alex if he knew
cliche
his
and
friend,
super
he responds,
suspicious off
"Nah,
the
he's cool
bat.
though." 10 minutes later, the number sends a text that truly starts to make the conversation suspicious. "Can we just come in through the front
What did
door
I
when we
just
get
say?
there?" As if asking
Exactly.
Gavin to leave the door unlocked. It was at this moment that he started to question everything about the interaction, from the first text being, "Hey, is this Gavin?" to the asking Gavin to call them an Uber,
I'm
to now
getting a
the
creepy
leaving the
feeling
door
off of
unlocked.
this.
He tried to call the
So am
number,
I.
but it rang and went to voicemail. He then tried to text and call Alex's number repeatedly, but it would just keep going to voicemail, and the text would just say delivered. Gavin stopped answering this foreign number now, and called his friend Omar to ask him if he'd heard anything from Alex, to which Omar said he had not. After reading Omar all of the texts, Omar agreed something was off. They looked to call the bar Parliament, but there
Duh,
was
you
no
think?
number listed online to
Well,
call.
keep in mind, Geigen,
Around
they're
this
in a
time, the
horror
number
story, they don't
texted
realize
Gavin
it.
again, saying, "We're here, open the door."
That's highly
Gavin
true.
went to his door and looked through the peephole of the door.
Yeah.
There was no one in immediate view, though, which
Huh.
maybe at first would have implied
Oh
it was
no.
all a prank. But when there was a knock at the door, Gavin checked the peephole again. There was still no one on the other side. Reality of the situation was setting in now for Gavin, as this was no longer just texts on a screen. Someone was actually on the other side of his door. So he asks, "Who is this?" Straight to the point.
Oh, No, I do
They
not like
reply with
that.
simply
No,
LOL.
no.
Gavin asks
Oh
again,
my
"Who is this?"
goodness.
And they reply, "Open the door." So
No,
instead of
don't open the
answering
door.
again, Gavin calls the
I
police.
highly
The knocking
recommend do not
persists for a
opening the
few
door if you're
minutes,
in
in
this type
long
of situation.
intervals. Then it stops for good when the person or people on the other end realize Gavin was onto them. Gavin went on to DM one of Alex's friends who he was hanging out with after he and Omar left. And almost instantly, the friend DM'd him back explaining that he, Alex, and their other friend were jumped by a big group of men in the street. They were all badly injured and went to the
Whoa.
hospital. Alex's phone had been stolen, while one of his friend's wallets and phone was
Dang.
stolen. Alex not having a password on his phone meant all of his info and
See, this is why
conversations
you
were
should not be
accessible.
wandering out in the
Alex's friend
streets at
helped him in
night
getting
and
his phone
staying
locked.
too
The
long
police report
at
that
the
Gavin would
bar.
get from the
And
police who
people
came to
call
his
me
house would later
dog.
help Alex in getting his service provider to replace his stolen phone for him.
Yeah, Bowser,
The lack of
you
a
gotta
password
get
on the
cuckoo,
phone meant
Brian,
the
but you're
thieves were
actually
able to
not
gain
dumb.
information such as
I'll give you
Alex and
that.
Gavin's conversation, where they
About
would deduce that
time
Gavin was
you
home
said
alone
something
and
like
an easy
that.
target. So if Gavin didn't catch on to this suspicious situation, he may have been opening his door to 2 or more people ready to attack him too and rob his house. The phone number that was being used to text Gavin
What if
turned
they
out to
did
be
something
another
worse?
stolen phone,
Like
therefore didn't help in finding the thieves. The case regarding finding the thieves and assaulters remains
restriction.
open.
YouTube's getting very sensitive these days. Listen to that, kids.
These
If
texts were
you
received by
mature
an
kids,
anonymous
grown up
viewer,
kids
from
watch
his
this
dad's
video, you now
ex-girlfriend
learn the
who named
message of
Kathy
that.
for the purpose of this recounting. The viewer will be called Rob.
Yeah,
The reason Rob's
just
dad
don't
ended
hang out
things
at
with
places
Kathy
late
was
at
because of
night,
her
too
increasingly
late at
erratic
night,
and delusional
especially in
tendencies. Her
places where you're
mental
more
health
likely
was
to get
declining for
robbed.
unknown reasons.
Exactly,
Rob's dad was
Gagin.
dating Kathy for about half a year, and Rob's grandparents both passed away during that time. Rob's dad wasn't
That's
very
really
open at
sad.
first about how Kathy would
It
start
is.
acting all
May
paranoid
they
about
rest
his
in
son's dead
peace.
grandparents, about how she believed they
Yeah.
placed a curse on her. Rob's dad cut ties with Kathy when the
Oh, I
delusions
heard
got too
about this,
ridiculous.
the
Rob was
cuss
left in the
that, the
dark for a
kiss
long
that.
time about Kathy's
Yeah.
delusions, though, presumably out of embarrassment
This
for
whole
having spent
cuss
so much
stuff,
time with his
man.
supposed nut job.
It's another
It wasn't
cliche of
long after his
in
father's breakup
horror
with Kathy
movies.
that Rob would receive texts from her
I'm
himself.
getting sick and tired of
When her
it.
attempts at reaching his father no
Me too,
longer worked,
honestly.
she clearly went to him instead.
Agreed.
Kathy texted Rob, "Hello, sweetie, I need your help." Rob replied, "With what? What's up?" "Your father's parents put a curse on me. I need you to tell me the cemetery and plot number they were buried at." "What do you mean they put a curse on you?" "I keep hearing their voices and having
What?
bad premonitions."
What the
"I
heck's
know
going
it
on?
sounds crazy,
I
but
have
I
no
need it to
idea. We'll have
stop.
to see. Be
Of course,
quiet.
being told by somebody that they were hearing your dead grandparents' voices would be a clear indication that the person is completely unhinged. So Rob went to show his dad the texts. His dad laughed and told him to just ignore her. Rob says that instead of blocking her, though, he just let her continue to text him to see how crazy her texts would get. She followed up later that night with, "I need to exhume their grave. If you help me out, I will sleep with you. I know you've always checked me out
Alright,
whenever
this
I
is
was in
getting
your
really
dad's house."
uncomfortable.
Rob still
Yeah, I
didn't
agree with you,
answer, and the
Bowser.
next day, her text got a little more
Mm-mm.
graphic.
Nope.
Rob showed
Nope.
these texts to his
Heck
dad,
no.
and this time his
No.
dad was not amused. He called
Destroy
Kathy and
the
explained
phone.
that he would be getting a restraining order if she
I
didn't
don't know if that's a
stop.
good idea,
When he
but
hung up, she kept trying to call until he ended up
it may
blocking
be a
her
good
number.
idea. I'm not sure.
That
We have to
same
listen.
night, while Rob's dad was asleep,
Exactly. So
Rob was
shh.
still in his den watching a
Shh.
show when he heard the
Shh.
door knocking.
Shh.
He went to look through the glass atop the door and saw Kathy fiddling with a knife in the key slot of the doorknob.
Oh
She looked up
no.
at him and
Oh
through the
no.
glass and started pleading with him
This
to
is why
let
you
her in.
need guns.
Rob called
Okay?
for his dad, and she started to
Could be
scream
that's his
help.
girlfriend.
When his dad came to the door, he screamed at her,
Well,
and then went to call the cops.
maybe.
Kathy
I
would
don't
scream
know.
back constant obscenities and threats, waving her knife in the air.
Wah.
She didn't leave,
Uh.
and police arrived to her still at the door with knife in hand. Based on her coming to their house with a weapon and not leaving when asked, she was arrested, and Rob's dad filed for a restraining order against her.
Oh
Clearly,
my
Kathy was more than
goodness.
just delusional and was starting to suffer from some sort of mental illness, such as paranoid
Okay,
disorder.
so that was his
This does
girlfriend.
not mean she wasn't a danger to
But
others, though,
she was
as well as
crazy.
herself, evident by the knife she brought to their
Whoa.
house and attempting
Just
to
whoa.
break into their house. Luckily, no one was hurt.
What the heck
An
was that?
18-year-old girl named
I
Leanna
don't know.
living in
What if she
Hoboken, New
actually
Jersey,
seen and
was
heard
at a local
something, and
bar
then
with her
something
friend on a
possessed
Saturday.
her? I don't know.
That's when she got
Just
a
a theory.
notification that someone was
I
trying to
highly
send
doubt
her a
it, though.
message on Instagram. Usually people disregard these message requests, as they're messages
Well,
from
I'm a
people you
believer in
don't
the
follow back on
supernatural, so
Instagram.
I most
In
likely
a
think that
girl's
has something to do
shoes,
with that.
those message requests are 9 times out of 10
Exactly.
men sending them flirtatious and often creepy messages.
Oh,
A lot of people don't ever check these
I mean, I
messages,
live in the
but
fairy tale land.
sometimes
I
when you
mean,
get that notification that
so
someone
I
sent you
would
a
be a
message
believer of the
request,
paranormal
curiosity
as
gets the
well.
better of you. In this
myself.
case, Leanna opened the DM, and it was from some random account with no profile picture and no followers, asking her if she
Well,
was at
booze exists in my
McSwiggin's, a
world.
local
Supernatural
bar in
creatures
Hoboken.
exist.
Right away, this
You
is
know,
cause for
black.
alarm, of course, because this would
My
be coming
us
from someone who
villains in
knew
the
where
Mario
she was
universe
at that
use black
exact
magic,
moment,
so
someone intentionally using
believe
a
in the
fake Instagram
paranormal.
account. Leanna follows with, "Yes, who's this? You look good in that pink top. Aren't you 18 though? Shouldn't be in a bar. I won't tell
No,
anyone
no,
though.
oh,
Who is
oh,
this? Just a guy who thinks you're
oh.
really attractive."
I'm
At
glad I
this
didn't
point,
drink
Leanna
today.
assumes it's a prank by someone
Shh.
she knows and asks who's messing
What?
with her. The
Rated
person replies it's neither of the
13.
names she just mentioned.
Well, it's
Upon
PG-13. I
Leanna
mean, you
asking
can
for
you
a
can let
selfie,
some
the person
stuff
replies,
slide. You know what I
"Can't." The
mean?
girls look around the bar for anybody that could be alone,
Shut
mainly an older,
up.
predatory looking man. They saw a few
Fine.
men that appeared to be alone sitting at the
Thank
bar.
goodness I
None
didn't
of
do
them
that
were
thing,
eyeing the
because
girls,
I would
though.
have thrown up.
That's when she
So
says,
disgusting.
"Okay, bye, we're leaving." Moderately
Disgusting.
uncomfortable, the two girls leave the
Agreed.
crowded bar and start walking. They go to another bar nearby, but it's
Agreed
far
with you
less
too,
crowded than
Shrek.
the first. They sit at the bar and order a few
I can't
drinks, looking
stand
for
that.
young guys to talk to. When Leanna's phone vibrates again, and she gets another creepy message from the person, it said, "This is my favorite bar, good choice." Leanna shows her friend the message, and then the two start looking around the bar
Very
for someone who could be
creepy.
sending the messages. And as if he was looking to be found out, Leanna saw a man sitting on the bar stool closest to the door, looking at her with a blank, wide-eyed expression. She says
Ugh.
the best way she could describe his appearance was the killer from the movie The Lovely Bones, mainly because of his glasses, hair, and mustache. They made extended eye contact, to the point that it seemed the man was outwardly trying to be creepy,
Creepy.
making it obvious who he
Hey, that's what I
was.
said.
The
The
girls asked the bartender for help.
situation is
She
not
showed
funny
him the
though.
DM she was getting and then
Sorry.
pointed at the man, who, in response to being pointed at, started looking around the room, in any direction but towards the girls. The bartender went over and told the guy in a loud, commanding voice to leave the bar without question, threatening to kick his ass
Whoa.
if he didn't leave the girls alone.
Oh,
The man left
there
the
you go.
establishment,
Somebody
shortly
tough.
feeling at least some sense
Finally.
of embarrassment, as anyone would.
Exactly.
Leanna and her friend stayed at the bar for
Agreed.
about half an hour, only to avoid running into the man outside. But Leanna says their mood to stay out was gone after that creepy encounter, and they just wanted to know who that was, or how he knew Leanna and where she was at that moment. When the girls left, they began walking home. They were on 2nd Street, a quiet one-way road, especially at the hour they were walking. They were being mindful of their surroundings, making sure they weren't being followed. But even when you think you're aware of your surroundings, the unexpected can always happen.
Oh
Leanna and her
no.
friend heard running footsteps from behind them out of the blue, and there was no time to react before the man grabbed Leanna with one arm around her face and mouth and the other around her waist. He picked her up as she tried to
Oh
scream and fight, but of
no.
course her friend did the screaming for her and continued to hit at the man. The commotion caught the attention of people from around the corner, and a few people came to the scene. The
Good.
man released his grip from the girl and walked away
Yeah.
quickly. Nobody went after the man. The girls called the police there on
Give
the
me a
spot.
break.
Leanna showed the police the
Exactly.
DMs, and two
Sure,
witnesses
tackle
backed
that
up their
man.
story as well. A police report was made, and a case was opened to find the man in question. Leanna would speak to detectives at her home a few days later, who gathered all the information she could give. They would later use the surveillance footage from the two bars, but the police have not yet been able to match the man seen in the footage to anybody. As a precaution, she still has her Instagram disabled to this day. If someone is dedicated enough, they can find someone through their Instagram by keeping track of what places they go to in their pictures, what school they go to, and who they associate with.
That is just
That's why it
horrifying.
often
This is
is a
by
good
far the
idea to
most
keep your
creepiest
Instagram
one.
private.
Agreed, Shrek. Exactly. Highly agreed. Alright, people. This
July
one is
15th,
called Scariest Things That Happen to
1976,
School Buses.
Chowchilla, California. A day
Alright,
that the
let's
town would
listen.
like to forget forever, yet remains a part of its history. At around 4 p.m., school bus driver Ed Ray was driving 26 students of Dairyland Elementary School home from a summer class trip to the Chowchilla Fairground swimming pool.
Oh no.
Ray was described as a humble rancher with a humble day job. Stocky, about 55 years old, a guy you would not want to pick a fight with, a guy who works with his hands and doesn't talk
Dang,
much.
one tough guy.
On this particular day, Ed's bus was rowdy, but the
Yeah.
kids all loved him for his
Wee.
patience and reliability. The kids were all loud and excited after just having spent the afternoon swimming. Some of them were even singing, but when the bus turns onto Avenue
Whoa.
21,
Okay.
Ray sees a white Dodge van blocking the
Oh
road with its
no.
door open.
Oh
He tries to
no.
weave around the empty van when a guy in overalls with a pantyhose covering his face jumps out in front of the bus with a revolver.
This sounds like a
The man
trap.
walks to the driver's side window
What
and
you
asks Ed,
think?
with no intimidation in his voice, "Would you open the door, please?" Ed opens it. Two more identically dressed figures jump in, one with a rifle, which is quickly pointed at Ed.
Oh no.
Everybody goes to the back of the bus. The one without a rifle starts to drive, and the one with the revolver
No.
hops in the van to follow them.
No.
They drive about a
Uh,
mile and park the
uh,
bus in a bamboo thicket.
I'm getting
The
scary.
entire ride was apparently so silent that it added to the pure horror of it. The bus was hidden
Uh,
near the Chowchilla River, and 12 kids were ushered into the white van that was following the bus. Ray and the other 14
no.
kids got into the back of the second van that was waiting at the location, this one green. There was a partition separating the driver's seat to the back of the van, and all the windows were sealed. Ed and all the kids sat in the backs of these vans for 11 whole hours, in the pitch black and extreme heats, all the while scared for their lives, not knowing what
Uh,
was going to happen next. Some of the older
no.
kids started to sing songs to try to lighten the incredibly horrible setting and make the younger kids feel better. Songs
Uh,
like If You're Happy and You Know It.
oh my
Meanwhile, back in
goodness.
town, it only took 15 minutes after the bus not showing up that parents began to wonder what was going on. That's how punctual Ed always was. Within the hour, the missing bus was being talked about on the local news stations. Parents helped police by tracing the route the bus usually took, and by that evening, they found the abandoned bus. Within hours, 30 FBI agents arrived on the scene, and an intense investigation was underway to find the kids
Ooh.
and Ed. Late that night, the vans finally arrive at a rock quarry 100 miles away in Livermore, 3:30 in the morning, at which point Ed had been awake for 24 hours.
Makes
The back doors
sense.
of the van
Evil
swing open
thing.
and two guys are waiting.
Yeah.
Ed is the first one out. He's handed a flashlight and then told to strip and then go down a hole with a ladder in it. Above ground, roll calls being taken for the children, and
No.
their names are written as they're made to
No.
leave the bus one by one. Then they're stripped and sent to join Ed down the ladder into what was referred to as
No.
the hole, which
No.
turned out to be an old moving van, which had been placed in a large dugout hole 12 feet underground. Ed immediately worried that the ceiling would cave in or that they'd suffocate. However, there were two air shafts, hoses that ran above ground to a tree.
When
There
is
were
this
also
gonna
some
end?
mattresses on the ground,
Please tell me
and
they
a
get
pathetic amount
saved.
of necessities. Wonder bread, peanut butter, potato chips,
Oh,
water jugs,
I'm scared
and
for
some
them.
bowls carved
Me
for
too, TB
toilets.
Godzilla.
After all the kids were
Somebody
inside,
come and
one of
save
the
them.
captors said, "We'll be back for you." Then a steel plate slid over the
Where's my
entrance
shoe?
and was weighted down by
A
someone.
juggler. Would you?
They, of course, begged to be let out, and many of the younger children screamed. Then they heard repeated thumps on top of the van. They couldn't see it, but their captors were shoveling dirt on top of the van, burying them alive.
Oh
Panic ensued in the
no.
trailer when it was realized what was happening. Ed tried his best to keep everybody calm. Ed and Michael Marshall, the oldest kid in the group, who was 14, started to push at the lid to try and open it, but it was pointless. So by now, Ed instructed everyone to eat and get some rest. 12 hours later, the food was all
Oh
already consumed, and the
no.
ventilation system that was keeping the van cool stopped working, and the hot July air started to fill the tight space. On top of that, the roof of the van started to cave in, and Ed knew time was very limited. The survivors, now adults, recount that around this time, as the walls and ceiling of the van were caving in and there was no food left, that they were starting to realize they wouldn't likely make it out of this alive. Ed and Michael started to pile up the mattresses in the trailer to get to the roof,
Oh
which had been
no.
covered with a heavy sheet of metal and weighted down with two 100-pound industrial batteries. After hours of effort, Ray and Michael wedged the lid open with a piece of wood and moved the batteries. They then dug away the remainder of the debris blocking the entrance.
Oh,
16 hours after they had entered the van, the group emerged and walked to the quarry's guard shack, where a security guard called the
good.
police. Ed and the children were brought to a nearby jail, where they were fed and interviewed by police. So the captors were three men:
My
Frederick Newall
goodness.
Woods, James Schoenfeld, and his brother Richard. Frederick's family owned the quarry that the van was buried at. The three men were finding themselves in financial struggles, so they planned to hijack the bus and demand a $5 million ransom to release the group. The men would flee when they saw the group escaped, though, but they were found after a 2-week manhunt. They
Good.
were found guilty and sentenced to life with the possibility of parole. Richard Schoenfeld was released in 2012, and James
Whoa.
Schoenfeld was paroled on August 7th, 2015. Frederick Woods was denied parole 15 times because he owned the quarry. However, in March of this year, he was granted parole as well. Rightfully so, people of Chowchilla and people around the world were sickened at the fact that the three men who committed this kind of monstrous act could ever roam the streets again. If Michael and Ed hadn't stepped
Heck
up and dug the
no.
group out of that van, they likely would
Heck
not have
no.
survived. Ed Ray died at
Oh my
91 in May
goodness.
17th of 2012, and is still to
No.
this day remembered as a
No.
hero.
No.
What you just heard may perhaps be the most well-known near tragedy to happen to a school bus full of children. However, it's a big world, and there are unfortunately many other horrific events that don't end up on the news. Then 14-year-old Donald, who wished to have his last name left out, was a student at a high school in Virginia
Oh
and a member
no.
of a
This is gonna
sporting
get very
band.
brutal, guys.
The bus
No.
driver's name
No.
was Robert,
No.
but everyone
No. I'm
called
not in the
him
mood for
Bob.
this.
Like Ed Ray, he also
Where's
seemed to
where's
enjoy his
where's
job
Peach
and
at?
enjoyed the company of
Where's
the
Peach
students he
at?
drove, albeit these students were a little older. On October 20th of
Oh
1995,
boy,
Bob
here
was
we
driving a
go.
class of band students to and from their field trip. Donald was
Mm-mm.
in this bus.
No.
The festival
I
they went
badly
to
want to
ended
cover my
late at night,
ears.
around 10, and the drive
Same
back to the
here.
school where the students would be dropped
No,
off
no,
was a
no.
45-minute drive away. The bus was on Route 58, a highway that runs through Virginia. Given the rural setting, there were basically no other cars on the road, but even when one car was relatively close to the back of the bus, it wasn't any cause for alarm at first. But when the car would start to tailgate the bus, instead of simply going around it, especially when the bus and the car were the only vehicles in sight, the students near the back of the bus started to realize and discuss amongst themselves how strange it was. Bob the bus driver would switch into the left lane to get the driver off his ass, and all the kids watched as the car floored it past the bus in the right lane. Some kids shouting things out the windows, to which the chaperone on the bus told the kids to knock it off.
Oh no.
Donald recalls thinking the
No.
car was gone and it was just some aggressive late
No.
night driver, when suddenly the bus slammed on the brakes so hard that everybody was slightly lifted from their seats, and there was an ear piercing shriek from the brakes. The bus
No.
came to a halt on the middle of the highway, and Bob told everyone to remain calm. The bus went into reverse for a few
Well.
moments, then back in drive to another halt. Bob shouted at everybody on board the bus to keep quiet and don't panic. And
Please
hearing
tell me
those
they
words
listen.
made Donald, along with his friends he was sitting with,
They
and every
better.
other student on the bus whisper amongst themselves nervously. There was
I
shouting
sure
from
hope they
outside the
do,
bus from
don't
multiple
they?
men's voices. Then the bus doors opened, and two men wearing black pullover masks armed with handguns came on board, yelling at everyone on the bus to shut up in response to a few students near the front screaming. One of the men with the guns announced to the entire bus to
No.
empty of all cash, to
Guys,
take
be
any jewelry
prepared.
off, and to give it to them. They went row to row with their guns pointed at the kids, as each student took out their wallets and placed whatever small amounts of money broke high school students could be carrying in their wallets
Oh,
into the plastic bag the guy was holding,
the lives
and the
is the
girls would
thing
take
that
off their jewelry.
matter.
Some students would scream as the gun was pointed in their faces, which would be a natural reaction for some. Donald
Oh
described the moment he
no.
had a gun pointed at his head at 14 as emotionally traumatizing, and
Oh
he felt his entire existence would end if he moved or looked at the guy the wrong way. The men didn't even make it to the back of the bus before they decided to leave in a hurry, most likely panicked that other cars would pass by and stop. The car floored it away down Route 58 with its lights off. Its license plates had been covered, indicating it was a planned attack, if the guns and masks weren't already indication enough. Everyone on board made it home okay. Just most of the students, as well as Bob and the chaperone, had been robbed. Unfortunately, bus robberies are a common thing, though, and while most probably aren't caught on video, what you're about to see was.
what the?
A school bus traveling along the N4 in Whitbank one Friday night this
At
past
least nobody
February
was
was
killed.
attacked by armed robbers.
It sucks that
The
they
teachers
got
did not know it at the time,
robbed, but
but the robbers
hey,
had
their
laid
lives
out
were.
rocks on the highway, intending to cause damage to vehicles so that the drivers would
Oh
stop and the
no.
robbers could steal from them at
Wait, this is
gunpoint.
footage?
The bus was carrying four teachers and the driver. There were no
Oh
pupils in the
shoot.
vehicle. They were traveling back to the school after an
Guys,
athletics
be
meeting
prepared.
when they hit the rocks and ruptured the tire. There were three robbers. Two were armed with guns and one with a knife.
No, no.
And eventually, a tow truck later pulled over to assist. One of the teachers borrowed the tow truck driver's phone and called her fiancé, who notified the authorities. Police soon arrived, and
That
an
was some scary
investigation
footage.
began. The robbers have still not been
Yeah, I
identified.
mean,
Since
I'm
buses can
scared for
carry a
the
lot of
kids.
people,
I mean,
depending on the
I
intent of the
fear for
people
loved
looking
ones.
to
That's what I
target
fear
them,
for.
they may see extra dollar signs just based on the amount of people on board alone. Even though you don't often hear about these things happening on the news, they do happen. In such situations where
That
people are armed with
sucks.
guns, it's always best to just comply with their orders.
Yeah. Well, that was pretty disturbing. Well, stay tuned for next time for another reaction of Mr. Nightmare horror stories. Who knows? It could be even Wansy Entertainment or What Lurks Beneath. So yeah, without further ado, that is it. If you like the content this guy, Kong Spideyzilla, does on his channel, well, go ahead, be sure to subscribe, and we'll be back for another part. In conclusion, donkeys, thank you for watching, and hopefully we didn't give you nightmares. If we did, I'm terribly sorry. Alright? Goodbye. Peace out. Wait, or should I say bye bye? See you later.